Hey everybody, Josh from Populi here, and let's invoice a bunch of pending charges without thinking about it. Not so fast. In reality, that's a terrible idea. We're going to talk about why and cover a couple of other good invoicing practices. This will be most useful to folks with a financial admin or student billing role. Let's look at an example profile. If we go to this student and then to the financial tab here, we'll see a few pending charges showing up here, and then also on the by term tab, the pending charge there. We're not really digging into how students receive charges. We have other videos about that. We've linked a few down below. So prior to invoicing, profiles in Populi will have pending charges. Pending charges can easily be edited. I'll just click over here and you can see real easily I can change that amount, I can delete it, whatever I need to do. Also, they don't affect the student's actual balance, so they're not hitting any accounts on, say, the general ledger or anything behind the scenes in accounting. But once you invoice, things are much more locked down and difficult to correct. Invoiced amounts affect the student balance and accounts receivable. After you invoice something incorrectly, your choices are to issue a new invoice to offset the difference, or you can void or reverse the incorrect transaction and start over. So you want to avoid invoicing things that aren't correct, or you will suffer. The best way to suffer, if you want to suffer as much as possible, is to create a bunch of incorrect pending charges using a messed up tuition schedule, and then invoice those charges. That is maximum suffering. Because then you would have to issue a credit using further charges to get everything to balance out properly, or go in and void all of those invoices. But we're talking about how you can avoid suffering. Some suffering anyway. It starts with pending charges. Those charges are produced automatically by tuition schedules or fee rules, as well as manually. Charges in Populi are generally focused on the term, and they're generally triggered by enrollment in a term. Those charges show up on a student profile under financial and then by term. You can also have charges on the dashboard there. Those are going to be term agnostic charges. Those are mostly going to be manually created. Your other pending charges will show up down here under by term. Being here and getting up close with those pending charges means that you have the ability to review them. You can delete or just make little adjustments to them. And again, it's important to do that before invoicing. Okay, so you can manage these charges individually, but your school is larger or it's growing. So how does this scale? You're gonna have to go from profile to profile, go to financial by term on every profile, check everything out there. Maybe that doesn't work for your school at its size. Let's go to financial, and then under billing, we'll go to current, and then pending charges is where we'll land right here. Nice, a big table, plenty of charges. It is possible to go over here under actions. We can click invoice. We can set our dates and then invoice those charges, and boom, all these charges will be invoiced. But that can be dangerous. Remember, we're avoiding unnecessary suffering. So good invoicing practices at this level involve checking in and making sure that these charges are correct, that they make sense. First thing here is that we can always filter the table to focus on things so we don't invoice anything we don't want to. The academic term filter helps us focus the table on the current term's charges, and that's very useful for keeping things clean here. Also, a note on terms and invoicing. If you've pulled up multiple terms worth of charges and then you invoice them all at once, you'll end up with multiple invoices for each student, one for each term for each student. So if you have a registration fee and a tuition charge for term A, and then a fee and tuition for term B, that student will end up with 2 invoices, an invoice for each term. I think it should be obvious that best practice is to invoice one term's charges and not have multiple terms charges in pending here, but depending on your setup, that might not always be possible. Next, we can sort by the amount column. That way we can see any huge outliers. Outliers might indicate something's wrong with one of our brackets on a tuition schedule or something. If you catch something like that, and you don't necessarily have to resolve that student by student, it may mean that something's wrong on a bracket. So a tuition schedule is just not catching everybody it should, or it's charging too much or something like that. If that's the case, you can easily have someone, and it might be you, who has the financial admin role, adjust the tuition schedule that's causing the trouble. But then you'll see that just changing that tuition schedule doesn't automatically change the charges here on this table. We have to re-trigger those charges. To do that, we'll hop over to billing and then by term. And then over here under actions, we'll click recalculate term charges. A quick caveat here, you want to do this before you make individual adjustments to students. So if you've added manual charges, or maybe you've gone in and adjusted amounts for specific students, you'll overwrite any of those changes when you recalculate. Once we recalculate, and I'll go ahead and do that, we can head back over to the pending charges tab. Now we've corrected those amounts there. Obviously, there's more that you can do to make sure that this list here is good, and I'm not going to walk you through every possible safeguard you could take. It's up to you and your conscience. But once you're all set, under actions over here, you can click invoice. Once you click that, all the charges here will be invoiced, and students can start getting excited about their charges and paying them. Again, we've got various related resources down in the description, including one that goes in depth on invoices. So check those out. If you want to dig deeper and get more value out of Populi for your school, join our Discord server. It's where Populi users can ask each other questions and capitalize on community knowledge. If you want to become a part of that community, go to Help in Populi and choose Join the User Community. That'll take you to a spot that has instructions about how you can get set up. I'm Josh for Populi. Thanks for watching.